So I've got a special video for you this week, guys, because today I'm revealing my first ever fitness product. What started as a gym hack a few months back has now turned into a legitimate product and an awesome collaboration with a company that a lot of you have heard of before. When I think about equipment or movements that can be easily performed in a commercial gym, but that can be challenging to effectively replicate in a home gym, one of the first things that comes to mind is a preacher curl. Now sure, you can do things like single arm preacher curls on an incline bench, but that can be a little bit awkward. And you can hack it using things like leg rollers and utility seats, but they aren't very comfortable or as effective. And then you can go out and buy a dedicated preacher curl bench, but they take up valuable space and they can be very expensive for a niche movement. Well, no longer is any of that going to be a problem. Meet the Preacher Pad. This affordable, comfortable, space-friendly pad makes performing preacher curls a breeze. And the best thing about it, you can set it up in a number of ways, making it more versatile than anything else out there. Everything you need to know about the Preacher Pad, coming up. Hey, what's up friends? I'm glad you're here because today is yet another perfect day to talk about gym equipment. Hey guys, my name is Adam with Garage Gym Lab, and if you're new here, this channel is all about testing and reviewing gym equipment, building the home gym community, and providing inspiration to anybody out there who's looking to build their dream gym. So if that's something you're into, I definitely encourage you to subscribe. That way you can stay up to date with all the weekly content. So to kick this off, I wanted to give you guys an idea of how this all came about and some of the process involved in bringing this to market. For any of you who follow me on Instagram, you may have seen me post what I called the Nugget Hack. If you're a parent out there and you got kids, you may have heard of the Nugget Couch. It's a very fun, infinitely configurable couch. Highly recommend it. Keeps the kids occupied and entertained for hours. And for some of you other adults, this may remind you of the Liberator Pillow Hack. And that's cool too. We're all here for a good time. But this idea was born totally randomly while planning a review of the surplus strength universal pulley system. I thought about this triangle nugget piece and I said to myself, hey, that can be a preacher curl. So I ran upstairs, I grabbed the piece, I brought it back downstairs into the gym, set it up on a bench in front of my low pulley, hammered out a few reps and said, wow, this works. Next thing you know, I was trying it with dumbbells, I was trying it with barbells, I was using it in my lap, on a bench, while I was standing, even while I was squatting. And it wasn't just me who was loving it. I shared it on social media a few times. My friends were going out, they were grabbing their nugget couches and they were doing preacher curls too. So then I thought to myself, what if this could actually be something? The problem was that the nugget couch, of course, wasn't designed for gym use, nor were they designed for preacher curls. The foam was far too soft and the fabric was for sure gonna leave some pit stains over time. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. Abmat. This was the perfect product for Abmat. I wasn't looking to get into sourcing or manufacturing or distributing or anything like that. So why not partner with somebody who's already established and crushing it? If you're not familiar with Abmat, they make some very innovative fitness accessories, ranging from the original Abmat to crash cushions and all the way to reach around massage guns. Yes, you heard that right. They're true pros at wrapping foam with vinyl, which of course is exactly what the Preacher Pad is. They have experience with the whole product life cycle, and they've got the relationships to help propel the product. The next morning around 11 a.m., I reached out to one of the co-owners of Abmat, and I asked him, would you ever be interested in partnering on a new product? I didn't realize at the time that he and his co-owner had already discussed the hack after seeing the video, and at that point we decided to team up and bring this product to life. 4 hours later, on a Friday no less, Abmat had a complete mock-up, which was very impressive. And then we spent some time modifying the shape, picking the right foam, picking the right vinyl. And after some testing and some logo design by my friend Joe Scalo, we arrived what you see here 4 months later. So with that background out of the way, I'll give you details of the product itself. I'll demonstrate its various uses. And at the end, you should be able to tell if it's right for you. So right off the bat, everything that you see here was sourced in the USA and made in the USA. This shape actually had to be iterated a few times because what we realized was that it wasn't really accommodating for a full range of user heights. As you may have seen in that mock-up, as well as the Nugget Couch itself, it was originally designed as a perfect triangle, but we realized that it wasn't really a one-size-fits-all solution. So what we did was we chopped off one of the points. This made it a lot more comfortable and a lot more accommodating for tall people and short people. And based on your preferences, you can either elect to use the short side or the tall side as your chest support, but either way, it uses the natural contours of your body to create stability. That short side also allows you to do tabletop preacher curls, which are a lot of fun, and which is something I'll get to here in a minute. The foam on the preacher pad was very carefully selected. This is a high density polyurethane foam, the same foam that's used in the original Abmat. It's great for fitness because it's very durable and it's very comfortable. We also selected the vinyl very carefully. This vinyl is very comfortable, very supple, very durable, and it's also textured to provide a nice grip. You'll notice that the vinyl fits perfectly around the foam. There's no areas where the vinyl is very loose, and there's no areas where the vinyl is pulled too tightly. And this is really Abmat's bread and butter. They've been making these types of products for a long time. They've stood the test of time, and they have a great reputation when it comes to foam and vinyl. In terms of size, this too was a very careful consideration. Too big or too small, and you risk inhibiting range of motion, affecting the angles, etc. The preacher pad measures 24 inches long by 13 inches wide and 8 inches tall, which not only makes it very functional, but also very space friendly for your gym. Consider that most preacher curl benches are going to take up between 8 and 12 square feet of actual footprint in your gym. The preacher pad really can be stored anywhere, and when you consider the fact that it only weighs about 3 pounds, it really can be moved rather effortlessly. In terms of the angles, they're very similar to what you would find on a dedicated preacher curl bench. They're very comfortable and they're very effective. What's cool about this being a pad though is that you actually have the ability to create various different angles by placing the pad on something else, like a wedge for instance. Take for example, I have the eccentric wedge right here. I can create a fairly flat angle of attack, or I can also go very steep. Now, I do tend to prefer just the pad itself. I think the angle is basically perfect, but it is fun to experiment with different angles from time to time. So that's basically the gist of the preacher pad. Let me now demonstrate and take you through the primary ways that I think most people are going to use it. The first way to set up the preacher pad is with it in your lap. In this setup, when I'm sort of free floating in the middle of my gym on a bench, I like to use dumbbells. So I'll just grab the pad, I'll bring it in, and then I'll go down to pick up my dumbbells. From here, I'm in perfect position and I can just start curling. It creates a perfect wedge. It feels very natural, again, for a variety of user heights. And the great thing about the lap position is that if you get yourself into a situation where you can't really lift it up, you can use yourself as a self-spotter. Just give yourself a little seated calf raise, lean back a little bit, and it'll get you over that hump. But this is definitely one of my favorite ways to use the preacher pad. Another variation of the preacher pad in your lap is if you use it with your rack. So all you got to do is set up some safeties beneath your preacher pad, and then you have a very easy and convenient spotter system. You can use a barbell, you can use a rackable curl bar, whatever you want, and then at the end, you can simply re-rack your bar. A third lap variation is by using it with a cable piece, like a single stack or a functional trainer. The great thing about the preacher pad being so portable is that you can easily take it from station to station. So I've got it set up here in front of the Prime Fitness Selectorized single stack. All I've got to do is set the pulley in its lowest position, and then I've got myself a great cable preacher curl. The great thing about this setup as well is if you like to do drop sets with your preacher curls, you can easily do that, especially if you have a selectorized unit. The next variation of using the preacher pad is by kneeling over it with a bench. I like to use dumbbells with this one specifically. It's a little bit easier to set up versus the lat variation, since all you have to do is sort of drape yourself up over it. If you have sensitive knees, you can use something like a blue air pad or something similar. Just drop it down there. But otherwise, just grab your dumbbells, get into position, and start hammering out some reps. Unlike the lat variation, if you get stuck on a rep here, instead of doing a seated calf raise, all you have to do is lean back a little bit. That pad's gonna follow you. You can get past the sticking point pretty easily, but this is an awesome variation. Other variations of the kneeling setup include the rack version as well as the cable version, but I'm not going to demonstrate those because they're basically the same as the lat variation, only kneeling. However, one of the things that I did want to show you is how to perform a tabletop preacher curl using this short edge. One of my favorite pieces is the old school Sorinex tabletop preacher curl, and you can replicate it pretty nicely with the preacher pad and a cable piece. Now you will need to have an adjustable column, so all you'll do is you'll set your height accordingly, bring your cable around, get into position, and then you've got yourself a nice flat angle of attack cable curl. The last variation that I want to share with you guys is something that Alex Good and I came up with when he was here training last week, and I was able to put him through the paces, or maybe he was able to put me through the paces on the preacher pad. This one does require a little bit of extra setup, but if you like to do a standing preacher curl, this is an awesome variation. So obviously we're inside of my rack here. You're going to need some safety spotters. Set these up at a height to where it's comfortable whenever you drape yourself up over the preacher pad. I'm using the utility seat as my flat surface, but you can really use anything as long as it spans the width of your spotters. On the opposite upright and coming in, you're going to need to set up something underneath, like a leg roller or a utility pin, etc. That's going to be your spotter deck, and you can just come in here and start hitting your reps. Works perfectly. If you get stuck on a rep similar to the kneeling variation, just ride that pad back a little bit and it'll get you through the sticking point. So those are a few of the main variations of the preacher pad, but I'm sure some of y'all out there will come up with different ways to use it, whether it's with a preacher curl or something else entirely. I'm happy to announce that the preacher pad is now available at abmat.com. So what are you waiting on? Go check it out. I'll put a link in the description. In any case, let me know what you think of the preacher pad in the comment section down below. As always, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Until then, be well, and we'll chat soon. Bye.